All right. So are you ready to dive in? Because I am so excited for this one.
Oh, absolutely. Let's do it.
We are talking Ancient Energies of the Earth by David Cowan and Anne Silk.
Yes?
And this book, from what I've heard, it's going to be quite the ride.
Yeah, it's a fascinating one for sure. There's a lot to unpack.
Yeah, tacky lines, earth energies, all that good
Uh,
stuff. And you know what really gets me going is how they might connect to like poltergeists or how ancient structures were built. Like, did they know about these energies?
yeah, that's one of the big questions, right? Like, did they and were they using them to their advantage?
Exactly, exactly. So that's kind of our mission today, right? To like figure out not just what this book is about, but like how these ancient energies could still be like messing with us today. You know what I mean?
Absolutely, yeah.
Yeah.
Let's get into it.
Okay, so I gotta say, when I first cracked open this book, I was instantly hooked by Cowan's like whole journey. He starts off, total newbie, just a guy with a dowsing rod, right? But by the end, he's like uncovering these crazy energy systems, these things he calls cup mark lays.
I think it's really interesting that you say he starts as a newbie because this whole idea of sensing these unseen energies, it's not new. It's ancient, right?
Yeah.
A lot of cultures have their own versions of this. The Celts had their fairy paths, the Chinese have feng shui. So it's almost like Cowan's work is kind of bridging this ancient wisdom with modern research, which I think is really cool.
I love that. It's like we're tapping into something both old and like insanely complex at the same time, right?
Yeah, for sure.
Okay, so cup mark lays, for those of us who are just tuning in, he found them coming from these ancient stones that have these like cup-like depressions carved into them, right?
Yeah, exactly, like little cups in the stone. And these lines of energy, these lays, they seem to emanate from those.
Okay, so they're more than just like lines on a map though, right? What makes them like actually mean something?
What really got me was how these lays actually seem to like interact with the environment around them. Like Cowan, he talks about finding a deer carcass at the bottom of this ravine,
Hmm?
and a lay he was following was visibly drawn to it.
Whoa.
Yeah, and that's actually how he figures out that these lays are attracted to cavities, both above and below ground, which I thought was fascinating.
Dude, that's like a total aha moment right there. So it's like those lays, they're drawn to empty or open spaces.
It seems that way.
Wow, and get this. It's not just ancient stuff either. Cowan found that these lays could be like diverted by modern structures, like concrete conduits or even just empty buildings.
Exactly. Isn't that wild? It makes you think about like all the spaces we inhabit, the buildings we work in, the cities we live in. Could these like unseen energies be influencing us in ways that we don't even realize? It's a trip.
Serious, it's like, what if our office buildings are built on like a negative energy vortex or something?
Right. Talk about a bad Monday morning.
Totally. But okay, back to the ancient stuff. So they weren't just building like randomly, right? They were tapping into something. But how did they even know where to tap?
Well, Cowan found that burial grounds and like those really old sacred sites, they were often built on these super strong energy points. It's almost as if they were like plugging into a power source.
Okay, I like that analogy. Plugging into the Earth's wifey or something.
Right. And in addition to those winding cup mark lilies we talked about, Cowan also found these things he calls straight lays.
Straight lays, what are those all about?
So imagine them as like more direct lines of energy, often connecting ancient standing stones, like those big old, Stonehenge type things.
Okay, yeah, I'm picturing it.
He found that these two types of lilies, the cup mark and the straight, they actually work together to make this sort of energetic grid or network across the landscape.
So it's a system, not just random lines, but an actual grid.
Exactly, like an invisible web of energy connecting all these ancient sites.
That's wild.
It is. And here's where it gets really mind-blowing. Cowan talks about this town called Crieff in Scotland. He realized that the town's whole layout, like the streets, the buildings, everything, seemed to be designed around this network of straight lines that connected these standing stones.
Wait, hold on. They designed a whole town based on energy lines. Seriously.
It seems that way. I mean, it would take an incredible amount of, like, awareness and understanding of these energies.
Yeah, totally. I mean, that's something we're only starting to kind of rediscover now, even. It's like this hidden blueprint that's been there all along, subtly, shaping things.
Yeah.
And it makes you wonder if these energies can affect something as big as like a town's layout. Could they be messing with us in other ways, subtle ways that we don't even realize?
And that's a question that Cowan really digs into later in the book.
Yeah.
And it gets, let's just say, it gets pretty interesting.
Oh, I bet. When I first picked up this book, Ancient Energies of the Earth, right, I thought it was going to be purely about legally lines and ancient sites and all that. But then, like, reading about the connection to poltergeists and those weird events that you can't explain, that's when I was like, okay, I'm in. Let's do this.
Yeah, Cowan doesn't shy away from those topics at all. He jumps right into the deep end, exploring how these earth energies could be tied to things like, I don't know, black spirals or apparitions.
Hmm.
Even those spooky stories about, like, poltergeists and stuff.
See, that's what I love. He's not afraid to go there, but he doesn't just like throw out these wild theories, right? Like,
Yeah.
he tries to back them up.
Oh, yeah, for sure. Cowan's really grounded, and he tries to connect these paranormal things, to some sort of scientific principle, or at least, like, explore a possible explanation.
Yeah.
For example, he noticed that these black spirals, which he thinks are bad news, by the way, were often in places where people got sick or had bad luck, like a lot.
Bad vibes, but like measurable bad vibes.
And that's something like that. He even thought that things like glass or mirrors could maybe deflect this negative energy. Isn't that wild?
Okay, that's fascinating, but also kind of creepy, right? Like, are there just unseen forces messing with us all the time?
It makes you wonder, right?
I'm suddenly way less skeptical about all those old wise tales, I'll tell you that.
Right. And Cowan, he doesn't just rely on his own findings either. He brings in research from other people, like T.C. Lethbridge. Ever heard of him?
Lethbridge. It rings a bell, but I can't place it.
Yeah, he was super into those, whatchamacallit, concentrated energy fields. Yeah, the ones found near water.
Oh, right. Wasn't he the Naiads guy?
That's the one. He called them naiads. Thought that might explain why, we get so many spooky stories about lakes and wells and stuff.
It's true, though. Like, we're drawn to water, right? Maybe it's not just because it's pretty. Maybe it's those Naiad vibes.
Could be. And Cowan, he tells these stories, right? About a ghost train, this ghostly figure, all in sepia tones, even a house where time gets wonky. Makes you wonder if it's those energies messing things up.
It's like, are we surrounded by ghosts and we just don't know it?
Who knows, right? But here's the thing that threw me for a loop. Cowan doesn't just stop there. He ties this stuff to crop circles. And those devil's footprints. You ever hear about those?
Oh, yeah. The hoof marks in the snow. Spooky stuff. I remember reading about that and thinking, okay, this is where he loses me.
Right. It does seem like a jump.
Yeah.
But he brings in this whole other thing, Chladni patterns. They're these wild designs, all geometric and stuff, that happen because of vibration.
Vibrations.
Yeah, like, you know how if you put sand on a speaker, it'll make those shapes. Same idea. Cowan thinks those patterns might explain crop circles, and even how ancient people thought about sound.
So, like, crop circles are sound, not aliens.
It's a theory, and honestly, it's kind of cool, even if it sounds like, I don't know, something out of Star Trek.
Right. But hey, Stranger Things, right.
Exactly. And then he goes on about earth gases, like stuff coming up from inside the earth causing weird events.
So, like, spontaneous combustion, things just bursting into flame.
That's one. Or those things where you're just like, nope, no explanation. He thinks it's the earth, like exhaling.
Man, and we think we're so smart with our technology, but what if the earth is just messing with us this whole time?
Right. And even those devil's footprints, the hoof marks, he thinks it's seismic energy, like the earth literally stamping its foot.
So much for the devil, huh?
It's a theory, but it makes you think, right? There's so much we don't get about how this planet works.
This whole deep dive has been mind-blowing. I think the big takeaway for me is that we're not just living on the earth, we're living with it. Like, all this energy, these layers, it's all intertwined.
Yeah.
Maybe it's shaping things more than we realize.
Exactly. It's like this whole hidden layer of reality that we're just starting to glimpse.
And who knows, maybe some of our listeners are picking up on it too, feeling those vibes,
Now, maybe. If you're hearing this, you've got a story about a weird energy spot or something, let us know.
Yeah. Keep an open mind, everyone. There's a lot we don't know. And until next time, keep diving deep.